Bethlehem Steel for tonight's match versus Memphis Untitled FC. Ladies and gentlemen, here are tonight's match officials. Referee this evening, Mr. Luis Arroyo. The assistant referees, Mr. Jeffrey Skinker and Mr. Tyler Marlostek. Fourth official, Mr. Joshua Encarnacion. Now, ladies and gentlemen, tonight's starting 11 for visiting Memphis Untitled FC. In goal number 1, Jeff Caldwell. Defender number 2, Morgan Hackworth. Defender number 3, Abdi Mohammed. Defender number 6, Dan Metzger. Defender number 8, Mark Birch. Midfielder number 14, Rashawn Dowling. Midfielder number 17, Ewan Brendan. Midfielder number 20, Todd Pratzner. Forward number 21, Dwayne Bucket. Forward number 22, Wes Charlie. Forward number 23, Weston Hall. The head coach for Memphis 901 FC is Tim Oakwood.
All right, sounds good.
What is it that defines us? Sure, we're defined by our history. Those who came before us. Those who made us what we are today. But that's our legacy. What defines us now? Well, we're defined by our actions on and off the field. Who are we? That's defined by us when we take our history, our tradition, and forge it with who we were, who we are, and who we want to be.
Yeah, he thinks he's big time.
Those elements create the firm foundation of our future as we strive to come together as one. Who are we? We are steel. We are forged in tradition and built for the future. We are Bethlehem Steel FC. And now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and
Final match of week number 3 in the USL Championship 2019 season, and we find ourselves right on the Delaware River at Talon Energy Stadium in Chester, Pennsylvania, as the Bethlehem Steel Football Club play host to Memphis 901 FC, as Memphis still looking for their first win in franchise history, and Bethlehem looking for their first win at their new home here at Talon Energy after moving from Goodman Stadium at Lehigh University a year ago. Tyler Terrence, along with the former German pro Devin Kerr, so glad that you're taking time out of your Sunday evening to join us and enjoy the beautiful game in the USL Championship. And Devin, Bethlehem Steel coming off of a brutal 1-0 loss against North Carolina FC, who have gotten off to a terrific start, but Carlos was absolutely enormous for Bethlehem and Brendan Burke. This massive double save, denying Lomas not once but twice on the way to a 1-0 loss.
Unfortunately for the boys in blue, Lomas would find the back of the net and then be subbed off. They'd get the 1-0 victory. NCFC stood stout. Brendan Burke telling us that he was really proud of the boys from an individualistic standpoint, but the collective effort that we saw the week before against Alabama Birmingham just lacking a bit. Said lacked a bit of communication, lacked a bit of experience. To be fair, bringing 15, 16, 17-year-olds on subs, you're going to see that.
And Elliot Collar would score the first goal in franchise history, 78th minute equalizer against Loudoun United. And this goal was a lot more than just the first goal in franchise history. Collier, New Zealand native, and actually had a friend that was involved and killed in the Christchurch shootings in New Zealand. But Devin, I mean, he just knew that he was going to score that goal for his friend. Added as a terrific piece on the USL Championship website on it.
They struggled week 1, and then week 2 versus Loudoun, to be fair, was kind of back and forth. But how great was it for not only their number 9 up top to get some momentum going in, but to do it for his country and really show how he felt about what was going on back home. They'll look to him again in the future. Great to see Elliot Collar get the first goal.
3 points on the line here at Talon Energy Stadium. It's coming your way next. Almost set for kickoff here in Chester, Pennsylvania. Tyler Terrens alongside the former German pro, Devin Kerr. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bethlehem and Memphis looking for a big 3 points. Bethlehem looking for their first win at home. Memphis looking for their first win in franchise history in their inaugural season. And Devin will take a look at the starting 11s now for both sides, beginning with Brendan Burke and Bethlehem. And really, it's just sort of a typical week for Bethlehem where you have a number of changes, not only in the starting 11, but in the 18 and players who are featuring for the first time as well.
Since Ernst Tanner, the new sporting director of the Philadelphia Union, has brought them into this hybrid 4-4-2. A lot of changes, gives their ceiling a bit higher of a reach, but also open to a couple mistakes. Bizo moving to the left back position. He's making his 2019 debut. And how about the 2 boys up top, Michi Galina and Ferris? They have not had 2 all-and-out number 9s all season. Brendan Burke is excited about that. He's going to look to try and find Ferris. Remember, this gentleman last year versus Toronto 2 has the fastest goal in Bethlehem Steel history, 61 seconds. They said that this guy, his ceiling is beyond the clouds, but he's a work in progress. They have to find a way to cultivate his talents and continue to push him to the next level.
18 years of age from Yaoundé, Cameroon, and this is the side that he's going to be going up against in this Memphis 901 team, coached by Tim Mulqueen. Devin, not a ton of changes, but a couple in there, and Morgan Hackworth getting his professional start out wide.
The left side will be interesting. Mohammed steps in as well as Hackworth. Tristan Hodge has started at left back position, but coming back from international duty with Trinidad and Tobago, they're going to limit his minutes. Dali steps inside. Najim's still away with the Afghan national team. So what is going to happen in the number 10 position? And will the Steel look to attack that left side of Memphis 901 as they've got 2 new players in the starting 11?
And Mr. Bethlehem Steel, James Chambers, standing over at midfield here at Talent Energy. And Luis Arroyo, our head referee, gets us underway. Let's turn off the world and turn on the game. Let's play 90 minutes of the beautiful game. Bethlehem in their navy kits. Memphis 901 FC in their all whites. 0-1-1 to start the season, Memphis. Had that 1-0 loss against the Tampa Bay Rowdies. Sebastian Guenzati from the penalty spot in the 4th minute. That would stand as a game winner. And then the 1-1 draw against Loudoun United, the two expansion sides colliding. And then for Bethlehem, started out with a 2-0 win against Birmingham in week number 1. And then most recently, their loss against North Carolina FC. And how about Dave Sarakin's boys, who are off to a terrific start. Anthony Fontana with some intriguing play out wide. And this Bethlehem side, Devin, I mean, you talked about a little in terms of the formation and what it's going to look like tactically and the fluidity of it, but, you know, in terms of the new sporting director and, you know, it's not changing completely, but it does look like a 4-4-2 on paper. What does that mean going forward for Bethlehem, who were very dynamic in the attacking third a year ago? So
traditionally, we've seen a 4-2-3-1 coming out of the Philadelphia Union down into Bethlehem Steel and then also into Reading United. Rubbing into this 4-4-2, you'll see a lot more formation changes, variables kind of stepping in and out. You'll see guys dropping, tucking back into the midfield from up top, which allows overlapping runs. Really the only thing that stays the same is James Chambers, and we're going to use him as an example. The back line, still similar looks. You're going to get overlapping runs from the outside backs, but they tend to hold a bit more if the defensive presence is not there. Offensively, sky's the limit. You can do so many different things, and Brendan Burke opened up about it and said, look, this gives us the opportunity to explore a bit more in the final third. We felt like organization-wide we were lacking some of the characteristics that we liked in the past, so they can definitely push themselves a bit further. However, it does open themselves up a lot more. They become more vulnerable because of the windows that it allows other teams to play through. We've seen that touch and go from the first 2 matches, especially last week versus North Carolina FC.
Yeah, it is the 4th official.
And Luis Arroyo blowing his whistle as it looked like it was Walter Cortez who took a shot to the face over on the far side of Talent Energy. And we'll restart with a Bethlehem free kick. Side that's coming off of their Eastern Conference semifinal loss against Louisville City FC. And what was a very frustrating game for Bethlehem with regards to the officiating and just the overall outcome. But a step in the right direction for Brendan Burke's side, who did not qualify for the postseason in their first year, able to get to the quarterfinals in 2017, fall into the eventual champions Louisville, and then stopped in their tracks again by Louisville last year, but just a step further. And, you know, it was just an amazing fixture against the Pittsburgh Riverhounds at Highmark in that win in penalties. James Chambers with the equalizer from the free kick, and it was just a very, very successful season for Bethlehem. Now in their 4th year of existence, as Michi Galina racing on the outside, showing great pace, but not going to be able to get there. And the goal kick coming for Jeff Caldwell, the 23-year-old keeper from Todd, North Carolina.
You have to understand the situation that's so unique to Brendan Burke, especially in the United States culture and the way that everybody's being developed. He's getting better every year, statistically. You take a look at the squads and the results that they're getting. They're progressing further. Home and away records are getting better. Goal differential starting to look much more conducive to a positive team that you're looking down the corridor for, but he's not getting his lineup sometimes to within 24 hours before a match. And you have to understand that when your team is dictated to you, I said, you know, how do you handle your personal ambition with the grand scheme of things? Because there is a bigger picture here than what's going on in their starting 11 every single week. And he said, you know, it's difficult to handle, especially in weeks like last week where I'm limiting guys' minutes. I'm told when players are coming in and out. So to kind of be dictated exactly what your actions are going to be and still produce results, it's beyond impressive.
And last touch is going to be off of Memphis, as Bethlehem will try to go quickly. But I'll like to slow things up. Given away by Galina. There's Chambers on the turn, forced to go negative. And we'll go all the way back for Matt Freese, the Pennsylvania native, just 20 years of age. Here comes Memphis with a little bit more pressure as Benofimo, feeling that pressure, wants to recycle. Bethlehem, a team that loves to have the ball at their feet and dominate the possession statistic. Long ball sent ahead, too far out in front of Michi Galina. And on the other side for Memphis, Devin, and Tim Mulqueen, you know, any expansion side is going to be a team to really examine crucially in the opening moments. But as you and I have talked about on air, off air, I mean, it's so difficult to tell. Even after the first few weeks, you need a big sample size. But so far, and especially knowing Tim Mulqueen's background, especially his relationship with Tim Howard, one of the part owners of Memphis 901 FC, I mean, just his resume speaks for itself and his knowledge of the game.
It's easy to jump on these squads and say, this is wrong, that is wrong, but especially for Memphis 901 FC, this is only their third game. So we have to pull back the reins a bit and just be a bit understanding of the environment that they're in. It's a lot easier for us to bark orders at the likes of Phoenix Rising FC and Orange County FC because we've seen what we've done in the past and they have a history. But most of these clubs, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 games into the season, really still trying to find their feet and see what they've put together in the offseason. Mulqueen, no different in that area. And he's assembled a good group. He's got some solid guys around him. Brought over Ben Perriman from Detroit City FC, also the great coach alongside Damon Rensing at Michigan State. And, you know, just great opportunity for these guys. It kind of sounds similar to what we've heard out of the likes of Nashville and some of the other expansion clubs over the past 2 or 3 seasons where the culture is so massive. And they're not just buying in for 1 year and then a jump to another league, or you know, they're looking from the academy up, really trying to provide a foundation, not just from a playing perspective, but for the community itself to just grow jobs and make everything much more beneficial to everybody as a whole.
A little bit too angsty from Bethlehem moving forward as Farris was trying to find Michi Galina, and you can already tell, I mean, with those 2 options up front, Devin, it looks to be, at least in theory, a bit more of a direct approach. Not sure if that's what Brendan Burke wants, but with the 2 options and especially the pace of Farris and Michi Galina and the ability to hold up the ball for Farris, that's what it looks like.
The big notice you'll see is out of, we'll use these 2 guys who are supposedly the wide players, Zach Zandy and Anthony Fontana. Last year, they would be hugging the touchline, waiting for that ball. Quick touch up to the number 9, maybe touch it back in, and then they look for those triangles. Now, they'll actually tuck in. And if you watch when they progress down into the final third, at certain points in time, you'll see a flat 4 up top. 4 different attacking options versus some very talented players that are on the pitch right now. And then you have Walter Cortez, Olivier Bizo. That's where the outside backs can come in. So it gives you the stretching part and still support coming from behind.
Here's Michi Galina stretching the defense. Galina still on the move, and a good challenge at the back from Memphis. It was a 1v1 situation, and Michi Galina usually gets the better of the opposition's defender in that situation, as this long-range effort never troubling Jeff Caldwell in the end from Shivani Willis. And the referee blowing his whistle, not sure if there was a deflection involved, but it will be a goal kick. Willis, 21-year-old from Jamaica, came over from Portmore United. He's on loan. Brendan Loving, his size and technical ability. That'll give the opposition some problems. Actually, I had the pleasure of covering Shivani Willis in the CONCACAF League when he was with Portmore United, which is just essentially Europa League in CONCACAF. Mark McKenzie keeps it moving. His first appearance for Bethlehem on the year. Here's the 19-year-old from San Jose, Costa Rica, Walter Cortez, making his professional debut. Featured a lot for the Saprissa Youth Academy. The Purple Monsters over in Costa Rica, and who actually were just in CONCACAF Champions League, but knocked out in the round of 16.
Luckily for Memphis, on the left side, they do have Mark Birch, which, if you're just joining us in the States, carries a massive amount of experience.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit, all the way back. I mean, this guy started his career in 2006 with the Galaxy.
How old were you then, 30?
I can't have that, huh? You know that. Come on. give me a break, man. I just got married. I got enough problems. Things may be new for Abdi Mohammed and Morgan Hackworth, but Mark Birch has seen quite a few stories been told at different levels in this country.
Willis keeps it moving, now along for Fontana, but too close to the byline. And it is shielded out of play by Dan Metzger. Select is the official ball supplier of the USL Championship and many of the finest leagues in the world since 1947. Select has been the leader in soccer ball quality and innovation. For the latest Select products and special offers, please visit selectsportamerica.com. There she is.
Love it.
In all of her glory.
Oh, Sunday fun day. Beautiful. You know, you give me a hard time on a regular basis about my affinity for Select soccer balls.
I do no such thing.
What's your ball of choice?
Hold the thought, as Michi Galina is actually offside. My ball of choice?
You're going to say Brine or something.
No, I'm not going to say Brine.
With all due respect, I mean, they did very well for themselves in high school and college.
I think that I'm obligated to say that Select is my ball of choice.
If you want a paycheck, you do.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. You're finally learning.
I need my paycheck so I can go out and buy more Select balls.
Good man, good man. There's some good direction from Brendan Burke, by the way. He says as soon as it goes to the center back, before then everybody steps. Memphis still trying to find their way around here, aren't they? A lot of it's been Bethlehem Steel holding most of the possession, and they're laying chase, 901 FC.
Again, a little bit too direct from Bethlehem, and Jeff Caldwell telling everybody to just settle down. You can hear Tim Mulqueen saying it's a bit too slow. Fimu up for the header. Referee says play on. Chambers looking for an option. Bizo trying to get forward again. Giving away as Bethlehem were approaching the most dangerous part of the field. Good turn from Grandison. Here comes Memphis. Dolly. It'll fall for Muckett. And Anthony Fontana will claim possession back for Bethlehem. Given away in the middle of the park. It's dangerous as Memphis have committed numbers forward. Michi Galina thought he had won it back. And now the free kick will be blown in favor of Memphis 901 FC. Technically founded on January 8th of 2018. They play in AutoZone Park. Peter Freund, Craig Unger, Tim Howard, the owners. They actually also purchased a fifth-tier association football club over in England in Dagenham and Redbridge. And Devin, you and I had a great conversation with Tim Howard a few days ago, saying how being an owner has always been at the top of his list in terms of what he wants to do, either while he's still playing in his final season with the Rapids or after his playing days, as Memphis establishing some good possession in Bethlehem's defensive third, but quickly squandered. Farris moving forward, felt like he got fouled with a high foot, as Todd Pratzner raised that leg pretty high, and they're asking for medical attention to immediately come on with the apparent head injury. And there was no malintent from Pratzner, but occupational hazard for Farris. Should that have been called a foul?
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? The referee didn't feel so, let him play. And Ferris did clutch that right cheekbone area and immediately went to ground.
Pratzner studying under the professor of defensive studies and Bob Lilly at Pittsburgh. Never afraid to put in a tough challenge.
It was interesting hearing Todd speak about that, and I said, you know, what was the difference between Bob Lilly and Mulqueen, or at least the biggest difference is? And he said, you know, to be honest, I actually find them very similar. And I said, really? And he's like, yeah, you know, obviously they carry a bit different of a philosophy. And I was like, okay, now we're talking. Yeah, that's hard. The first step by Ferris gets him there. You don't expect that to come if you're Pratzner, but he's got to get up and go. A little reference to my
breaking out the impressions in the 17th minute.
Yeah,
you're really feeling it today, huh?
Only respect for Tommy Smith and JP Delacamera, who end up doing the Philadelphia Union broadcast
right here at Talent Energy Stadium.
That's right. A nice showing last night. And that's a good little transition there, actually. If you take a look at what they were able to do last night, I believe the final was 3-0. Brendan Aronson got the nod. Looked very nice. And that's a youngster coming up through the YSC Academy.
He scored in Atlanta in his debut.
Saw him last year multiple times. Brendan Burke saying that he's the type of player, not only talent-wise that we're looking for, but at that age to carry that kind of charisma and confidence. The mental, physical attributes that usually you'll get 1.5 out of a player. Sometimes you never get both, and they've been able to acquire that. I think they've got a couple this year that can follow suit.
Good defensive work from Bethlehem, and they actually end up winning the throw-in, much to the dismay of Memphis 901. And you and I mean, we were able to cover Brendan a pretty fair amount in 2017, and it was just this scrawny 16-year-old who was trying to find his way, got a few appearances, and then the jump from 17 to 18. I mean, you could start to tell exactly why Brendan Burke and Jim Curtin had that much faith to put him on the field in a professional setting at that early of an age.
You look at him now he's gaining some height, starting to fill out a little bit, and imagine when that all catches up with him and he's already gained all of that experience over the past 2 years. The next one in line, Brendan Burke thinks it's number 57, the Ivorian, Patrick Bowie. Made his debut last week, only got about 20, 25 minutes, but he pushes the pace, and he's another one. He said that now when he goes back to his academy teams, the U19s, it's easy. It's too simple for him, and that he needs to take the mentality when he comes to a senior level squad back with him and then help everybody else raise their games up. But that's one thing that they've started to notice funnel through their organization. And Memphis with the hotbed, I mean, growing up, they had a lot of that as well. I was coming through my youth academy ranks, and I'm sure that they'll follow suit and set something up for themselves.
And Memphis might be setting themselves up for a yellow card here, as that was a bit of a tough challenge from Wesley Sharpie. 26-year-old from Tarpon Spring, Florida. Spent 2017 with St. Louis FC under Preki, a failed experiment, but in step Anthony Pulis, and you get your first ever postseason appearance, albeit in the Western Conference. Falling to Orange County in the first round. Wesley Sharpie, actually a Reading United product in the 2013-14 seasons. Played his college ball at University of South Florida. Of course, spent some time with TFC2 in the 15 and 16 seasons. He's been all over the place.
A couple of these boys from 901 FC have been in or around the Union organization. Morgan Hackworth, his father, John Hackworth, was there. Obviously head coach for a bit of time. Wes Sharpie, as you mentioned. And then Todd Pratzner came up through their youth academy too. So Brendan Burke, very familiar with some of these players. Asked him, kept in touch with him. He said, you know, some pleasantries here and there, but don't necessarily follow suit on a regular basis.
Memphis looking dangerous here. Long-range effort from Metzger, parried away by Freeze. And that's the first real sign of life we've seen from either team, and it comes in the 20th minute.
It does show you the glimpse that they're capable of, though, and that's what we've seen over the first two matches. It's kind of lulled to sleep, 10, 15 minutes, and then they go very quickly. Adam Najam was someone who showed us some of those looks in the first few weeks. This time coming from the right side.
It's a clean hit.
Yeah, good stuff by Metzger. Just steps up, puts it on that right peg, and has a go.
Return out of pressure from McKenzie. Benjamin Ofimu, who of course scored the first goal for a player on an academy contract for Bethlehem back on June 2nd of 2018 in that 2-1 win over North Carolina FC. Great camera work from our director, Gage Tillotson, producer, Sharni Yerke, and of course our replay operator, the main man, Manny. Chambers on the first time. Just trying to turn the backs of this Memphis back line. Here comes the press from Bethlehem. They win the ball back. But cough it right back up. Walter Cortez on the near side is on the bottom of your screen. Bethlehem's in possession. Filling in for Matt Real, who's away with the U20s. Here's Sharpie. Morgan Hackworth now. Son of Louisville City FC head coach John Hackworth. Metzger keeps it moving. Hackworth knocks it out wide for Sharpie. Numbers in the box for Memphis. Delivery doesn't get past Chambers. Todd Pratzner. Mark Birch now. It's a poor giveaway from the veteran. Bethlehem looking to operate in transition. Zach Zandy lets it fly. It's off the post. Outstanding effort and denied by the width of the woodwork. And the former Villanova man, that close to a lightning strike.
Zandy was rewarded with Team of the Week honors in Week 1 for his strike versus Alabama Birmingham, and the Legion had to deal with it there, and almost Jeff Caldwell. And that's where you get Zandy just tucks inside. Everything is so interchangeable. He rotates in, Willis out. Not as much plug and play as we've seen in the past, but it allows them to explore the depths a bit further. That was a good look at it.
Chambers looking to switch the point of attack. It's too hot to handle on this near side for Walter Cortez. Look along the back line for Bethlehem. Bizo 21, Mark McKenzie 20, Benofimu 18, Walter Cortez 19.
Matt Freese 20. They're young, aren't they? Very, very young.
And who brings them all together? The Irish glue man and James Chambers at the ripe age of 32. And here he is on the ball. Not sure who that was, but somebody said, Ferris, are you looking forward or not? It didn't sound like Brendan Burke, but seems to still be a little bit of miscommunication. And especially with so many new players coming in this year, Devin, and the amount of pieces that they lost from 2018 to 19, a lot of those guys, especially as the season went on, started to get used to what a Bethlehem week was going to look like, which is just basically ambiguity until basically 12 hours before a game. And I think that a lot of these guys are going to have to get used to the idea of playing with new players basically every week, and the lineup just a revolving door.
New players every week, new philosophy, and Brendan Burke said that we've instituted it with the Union and the Steel, and that's about it. So academy players aren't really getting a lot of experience in it, and even if you've got a lot of talent, if you're not used to the system you're playing in, it is very difficult to replicate without experience.
Here's Cortez, nice little move to wrong foot Metzger. That's a great ball through, but the offside flag is up. Devin had a simultaneous hand raise with the assistant referee.
What's funny is this ball is played perfectly. Unfortunately, Michi Galina just doesn't keep his head on a swivel. He's got to keep his head turned around and look over that shoulder, stay even with the back line, so when something as pretty as that makes its way through, you're able to get on the end of it.
And that's one of the toughest things to do in the world as a striker, and we see a lot of guys struggling with it. And actually, obviously two of us being Liverpool fans, Mohamed Salah, when he was in the Premier League with Chelsea, that was one of his biggest issues, was timing the runs and really just sticking on the shoulder of the last defender and being able to go forward, as Galina is shielded off by Birch, and that's outstanding defending. And it looked like Galina took a shot afterwards as well.
It's Tim Mulqueen letting our fourth official know exactly how he feels, but referee did pick it up. Michi Galina jumping over the back of Mark Birch, who had done so well to get in front of everyone. He really is the leader of this back line. We've given so much praise to James Chambers already and what he does for Bethlehem Steel. Mark Birch, no slouch himself. Mulqueen and Todd Pratzner in those conversations saying that he is the glue that holds all of their squad together. And 901 FC still looking for that identity. We've talked about the shifting of what is the Union and Bethlehem Steel. What's Memphis 901 going to look like? Mulqueen says they want to bring a lot of pace and energy to their matches, but also very technical on the ball.
And it will be a yellow card issued to Anthony Fontana. I'm not sure if that was for the foul or for kicking the ball away afterwards. Doesn't really matter, does it? Mustard for Fontana in the 28th. Is that a bit soft for you, Dev?
You know the answer to that one. Most assuredly, yes. We'll get a better look at Anthony Fontana and his challenge. There's the first one, Shivani Willis. To be fair, that's a foul, holding him up, and Fontana just gets in even hotter water.
Cleared away by Chambers. Ferris trying to hold it up. A lot of pace on the field. Chambers will go back for freeze. And the free kick for Bethlehem. And Devin, you and I were talking about just the ever-evolving starting lineups and rotating lineups for Brendan Burke and Bethlehem. And of course, our producer, Sharni Yerke, spot on with that statistic. 101 games under Brendan Burke, 99 different starting 11s.
I couldn't do it.
No.
I point blank said to him, I think what you've been able to do and replicate on a regular basis there is insane. I don't have the patience to coach. No, listen, hear me out for a second. I don't have the patience to coach in general, yet alone deal with that every week. Again, not knowing what 18 or 23 you're gonna, not knowing you're 23, 48 hours ahead of time, not knowing the 18, and then a lot of times he's actually being told what 11 are going to be put in. And not having a say in that, and then having to deal with so many pieces coming in and out, beyond impressive.
Bethlehem threatening until they're not. You think he doesn't get enough recognition from the league?
Definitely not. It's so easy for us to jump on these squads and talk about their streak, how many goals given up, this, that, and the other. And this is not against Memphis or anybody else. A lot of these teams are starting guys that are out of college, pros. I mean, take a look at Mark Birch, 34 years of age. He's been professional since 2006, over a decade. Some of these guys don't have 10 professional appearances.
Walter Cortez has 1 professional appearance. It's not a bad ball through. Afimu goes back for freeze, a little bit of work to do, and he might just see it out or at least get it out for a throw, and he chooses the latter. Nice little 1-2 in the curling effort, sailing over the bar.
They need to try and find a way to get Sean Dolly involved up top. That's then the message around this camp. That's the player that has impressed everybody more regularly than others. Another youngster, only 22 years of age, and someone who could probably fit himself right into this Bethlehem system, but made his home here in Memphis, and now they're still looking to find a way to get their first victory. Come from behind high last week versus Loudoun United and their young squad.
Morgan Hackworth beat to the ball by Benofimo. Here's Wes Sharpie getting out of trouble, asking questions of the Bethlehem defense, and they have the answer, at least for the time being. It's well done from Memphis. Really well done from Mark Birch. That's just a veteran distribution out of the back.
First time across the body.
I love it.
And in the middle of 2 players, it's aggressive, but he knows exactly what he's doing.
A little more than a half hour gone here at Talon Energy Stadium. Tyler Terrens along with Devin Kerr, 0-0 between Memphis and Bethlehem in the final match of week number 3 in the 2019 USL Championship season. 2 good chances for both teams, both efforts from outside of the penalty area. One from Dan Metzger that was saved by Freeze, and another one from a long ways out, probably a little bit closer to Goodman Stadium than Talon Energy, where Zach Zandy struck the post. Of course, Bethlehem coming over from Goodman and Lehigh University in Bethlehem to come play here at Talon Energy for the 2019 season. It's about an hour south of Goodman, and we are right on top of the Delaware River here in Chester, Pennsylvania. As Memphis threatening. Another long-range effort, but easy enough for Freeze.
It's easier for us to sit here and point out the inexperience from a professional standpoint for the Bethlehem Steel players, and for Memphis 901 FC, it's inexperience and just repetitions together. Remember, most of these guys haven't been in camp or together for more than 2.5 months, and that's just not a load of time to get to know each other. Heard that the locker room is coming together nicely, but still very, very new, and the sample size of what you've seen over the first 2.5 games is not going to be an accurate representation of what we're going to see midway through the season.
And it just must be so incredibly difficult for Tim Mulqueen and Memphis to string together a roster where there's no expansion draft, there's no draft in general. You just have to go out and pick up pieces that are available.
He brought that up to us. He said, you know, we didn't have those liberties like other squads have had, and you have a better idea of what it's like. It's, you know, any other sport that has an all-star game, you can take all the talent in the world. They don't ever play together. It's not the prettiest product. There's some fun highlight reels, but this team definitely not lacking talent whatsoever. For them, it's just reps day in, day out, training, games, and it doesn't matter how hard you train. When you're not put into game environments and situations on a regular basis, you just don't understand what's going to be thrown at you. And we did see a progression from them. Much more flat performance in the first 90 minutes versus the Rowdies. Again, the 5th-minute PK by Seba Guenzati gave them the victory, and it was touch and go for them. Last week versus Loudoun, they controlled the second half, and the youngsters were in and out of that match, but they were much better. You could see them really finding their shape on a regular basis. And then what happens? Game 3, players leave for international duty. You've got to limit some minutes, rotate some guys in and out, and you're dealing with 3 guys in the starting lineup in different positions.
Guenzati had another penalty, an equalizing penalty at that, against St. Louis FC. We'll have highlights from that game and 3 others at halftime, so make sure you stick around. The other 3 games, well, you just have to tune in during halftime and find out. That delivery takes a deflection and easily handled by Freeze. I mean, at this point in the game, Dev, a 0-0 draw is probably what both of these teams deserve at this point.
Not too exciting, is it? 901 FC looking to figure out exactly what direction they want to take this match. Bethlehem Steel controlling most of it, and they've had a few opportunities. Zach Zandy one is really the only one that challenged Jeff Caldwell. And 901 FC have had their vision set from a bit further away. Dolly and Weston Paul try to have a go from about 25, 30 yards out, but nothing truly threatening for Matt Freese.
Here's Bizo getting forward. He's tripped up. And that's Olivier Bizo at his best, just showing off that blazing pace. And a free kick coming for Bethlehem that I'm sure James Chambers would love to whip in. Adil Muhammad called for the foul. 22-year-old up in Westerville, Ohio. Delivery towards the back post and over everybody, and a goal kick for Caldwell. Shadali on the turn. Tim Mulqueen loves it. Grandison. Finding Dan Metzger. Helped that New York Rebels 2 team to a USL Cup championship in 2016. Spent some time with the New York Rebels in Major League Soccer as well, as this one is intended for Farris. Cleared away by Todd Pratzner. Not out of the woods yet, though. Physical play ensues. Chambers. Good stuff from Mark McKenzie. Should have been a foul, no?
The referee's letting them play a bit here, aren't they? And you have to question how
that was off the ball.
How this comes out for a throw-in. I will never figure out on that one. Some very questionable decisions by our referee so far. And you can hear it from both the head coaches. I mean, they're both chiming in with the 4th official as well as our head referee, because he's done it to both squads, and it's gone both directions. This one coming to the near side.
That ball didn't go out.
Doesn't go out. Cortez gets fouled. I mean,
it's a mess.
There's a lot going on here.
And the crowd starting to go restless here in Talon Energy. Well, as you like to always say, listen, it's one thing for officials to make bad calls, and they're human, they're going to make errors, but at least be consistent about it. And I guess Luis Arroyo has that going for him at the moment.
Yeah. I just prefer them to just let them play. I'm not talking about these mistakes. You want to beat the heck out of each other. More power to you. Have at it.
But a foul away from the ball, trying to link up on a 1-2.
Please no. Stern talking to you at the top of the box. I mean, you're disrupting the flow of the game now. Not that we've seen a boatload out of either squad, but 3 whistles in 20 seconds.
Birch floats it in. Freeze wasn't sure whether to come. It's awkward, and Freeze ends up hanging on to it. About 5 minutes remaining in this first half, plus stoppage time. We'll have news and notes from around the USL, highlights from 4 different matches from across the league, goals, saves galore. Great little sidestep. Good opportunity here, and it's off the post again from Bethlehem. Giovanni Willis had his dancing shoes on, just didn't bring his finishing boots.
We saw it earlier from Zach Zandy on the left-hand side, and Giovanni Willis tries to follow suit, starts it on his left, and as he brings it back across his body, makes it very difficult for Caldwell to toe that line, coming from his left back over to his right. Unleashes, and that right woodwork has been the goalkeeper's best friend so far.
Tim Mulqueen's been barking the entire game about the 2 hands on his players. Here's Chambers. Good defending from Memphis. And it wasn't a bad idea from Leston Paul. Trying to find Dwayne Muckett.
Keep an eye on the picture. You can see a bit more of the ideology that is what this organization is trying to employ. Look how high the outside backs are. Now, we've seen them get high in the past, but James Chambers just a second ago dropping all the way back to a left back position to receive the ball and look for distribution. Walter Cortez is just beyond Morgan Hackworth, not even in the screen anymore, and that is a very high line to play. So that gives you an idea of what they're trying to do on the offensive side of the ball. Gives you more numbers going forward. But when on that turnover, Memphis 901 needs to understand where the pressure points are. So if you can pick and prod a little bit more, you get the turnover, look to the channels, you can explore a bit further.
Good build-up from Bethlehem. It was extremely patient. And Birch will be able to get there for Memphis. Muckett trying to bring it down. Good defending from Bizo. Bethlehem locking Memphis in their own defensive third. Fontana still with it. Anthony Fontana looking to take it himself. Was he fouled? Luis Arroyo says no. There was contact, but the ball was already 15 yards away.
Not going to get to it. And if you watch slowly, it's actually a seasoned move from the youngster because he leans into the challenge. He gets the touch around the center back and kind of leaves his leg out a little bit and leans forward. Great footwork, and here it is right there. Goes around him, leaves his leg out, drops it.
There, yep.
Very, very smart by the attacker, but referee wasn't going to buy it.
It's just incredible to see that young of a player. No, that's not something you can really teach somebody. I mean, it's just watching the game, experience, reps. Really cool to see that from a 19-year-old.
You also have to understand that coming up through the academy system, now he's getting reps at a higher level, but coming up through the academy system, that's a tackle that a center back will step into at that young age. The seasoned pros aren't going to. Mark Birch and Todd Pratzner know better. They know than to leave their feet right there.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
So the youngster would step in there, possibly give up a PK. Older guys are not going to make it happen.
Good step from Walter Cortez. And Ofimu deceptive, and we'll go back for Freeze. Sean Dolly. And Matt Freeze off of his line. And we'll have 1 minute of stoppage time in this first half. Relatively clean first half of play here at Talent Energy. Fontana. Muckett brings it down and keeps it in play. Maybe one last chance for Memphis before the half. Good ball forward for Metzger. Here's Leston Paul. And cut out by McKenzie before it could really get dangerous for Memphis. And that will do it for the first half. Luis Arroyo says that's enough. 0-0 is the score here in Chester, Pennsylvania. Bethlehem and Memphis. A scoreless stalemate at the moment. Couple of woodworks from Bethlehem in the form of Zach Zandy as well as Shivani Willis. And Matt Freeze was tested just once in the first half. Devin, your thoughts on a rather uneventful first half?
Just like to see some higher energy from both squads. Bethlehem Steel, pretty systematic in their movements. Really haven't seen them explore their bag of tricks that we've talked about. And Memphis 901, remember, still their first road game. Got to figure out a way to find out what road life is all about, bring a higher energy level, and see if they can challenge the boys in blue come the second 45.
Halftime here at Talent Energy Stadium in Chester, Pennsylvania, right on the Delaware River. As the subs are having a little knockabout here at Talent Energy, we will take a look at some entertaining scores and games from around the USL Championship in week number 3. We'll start in Fenton, Missouri. Devin Kerr, you were on the call for this one. Check out this ball from Lewis Hilton. Sam Fink with a diving header. That is a dime from Hilton.
Twice Sam Fink has actually scored in back-to-back weeks, and he had an opportunity to score on the other end as well. Unfortunately, it went the wrong direction. Sam Fink gets his arm out in front of himself, and in steps, guess who? Memphis 901 fans will be all too familiar with that man. Sebe Guenzati gets his second goal of the season. He knotted up 1-1, and those teams stay unbeaten in the Eastern Conference.
And now we'll head over to Children's Mercy Park right down the road in Missouri, and started off pretty well for Pittsburgh Riverhounds. They were able to get a goal through Toby Adewale, and then that was in the 71st minute. It was a flurry of goals and just a matter of basically 15 minutes, Rodney Wallace with the equalizer. Then Swope Park Rangers would get one through Kellen Rowe, who was getting some time with Swope over the weekend, and he would make it 2-1, and then Pittsburgh would somehow find their way back into it, and they would equalize in a penalty by Anthony Velarade, and that would make it 2-2. Let's head over to the Sportsplex at Matthews, a 6-goal goal-scoring bonanza. Romario Williams would finish with a hat trick. This is a wild one from start to finish.
This game was really weird to watch. If you didn't get an opportunity, go check it out, ESPN Plus. Check the replay. It's super fun. 1-0 at halftime, and then you got 4 goals in the final 15 minutes. Charlotte Independence found themselves up with just moments to go after Jorge Herrera netted in the 93rd minute. There's a good look at it. They think it's the game winner. Romario Williams had other ideas. Just seconds later, great ball swerved in, and the big man goes up off the rebound to take down Brandon Miller as Atlanta United, too, on the road, are able to steal one from the depths.
Awesome stuff from Romario Williams and the former Charleston Battery legend. Let's go to the home of the champions at Slugger Field in Louisville. Hartford and the Fighting Jimmy Nielsen's got off to a great start. Jonathan Brown latching onto a good cross. And then Louisville, the champs, the back-to-back champs, finding a goal through Luke Spencer. That's a terrific hit.
You had an idea that this was going to be a weird day when Niall McCabe lost his championship ring in the parking lot. Had to go back and find it. Was grateful that it had a great case. And then, you know what? Brian Ownby, how many times have we seen him at the end of games just find a way to make an impact? Came out of an own goal deflection in the back of the net. But still, champions, back-to-back, find a way to get 3 points.
Grinding it out, Brian Ownby, a winner if there ever was one. We'll step aside when we come back. News and notes from around our wonderful United Soccer League.
What does it take to be a champion? Skill, strength, vision, an unrelenting desire to prove your worth week in, week out. An army of fans behind you screaming your name. And sometimes just a bit of luck. For 631 games over the course of the next 9 months, 22 players will step on the field to answer the question, why will it be you and not them? And the 36 teams, from the champions of yesterday to the challengers of tomorrow, only one will be right.
To soccer fans across the United States, we want to say thank you for helping to create the most impressive, well-attended USL opening weekend in our history. With your support, we welcomed record crowds of over 91,000 fans to USL stadiums last weekend, and with over 3 million expected by the end of this season. This is a special moment, and if you're new to the USL, you're joining us at the most exciting time in league history. With more clubs and more games than ever before, the USL Championship is establishing itself as one of the premier second divisions in professional soccer around the world. In 2019 alone, we've welcomed to the USL family 7 new expansion teams in New Mexico, El Paso, Austin, Memphis, Birmingham, Hartford and Loudoun. That's 7 new communities who now have professional soccer in their own backyard, and 7 new communities where local youth can now see a direct path to fulfilling their dreams of becoming professionals themselves. We're also reaching more people than ever before, courtesy of our partnership with ESPN Plus. Every single USL Championship game available online, and another 8 now shown on national television. More fans than ever before now can watch USL soccer from the comfort of their own home. So thank you, soccer fans. Thank you for joining us for what will be the biggest season in USL history.
Well, there you have it from the main man, Jake Edwards, the USL president, alluding to just a few of the terrific things that we've seen so far in 2019 in the 7 new expansion sides, including Memphis 901 FC, who's currently tying with the Bethlehem Steel Football Club at 0-0, a rather uneventful first half with the exception of a couple woodworks, as we'll take a look at some news and notes from around the USL Championship. And Dev, I mean, March international window, you have all sorts of CONCACAF Nations League going on, 38 different players from 20 different championship clubs have been called up to represent their countries. Just a true honor. Brian Brown, Player of the Week, who scored both goals in Reno's comeback against Austin, and then Louisville's new stadium. I mean, the virtual tour, it's going to be an incredible soccer-specific stadium in Butchertown.
Ewan Grandison saw 8 different Jamaicans, his fellow countrymen, make their way to the international window. Brian Brown, one of them as well. A couple guys from Phoenix you may have heard of, Junior Flemings, Ron Lambert. They were on exhibition. And it's been weird with the window too, guys in and out, and that's, Memphis has had to deal with those growing pains. We talked about the repetitions, and they've had players in out. 3 from Trinidad and Tobago, and their number 10, Adam Najam, with the Afghan national team, still has not made his way back to the starting 11.
And it'll certainly be fun to keep an eye on those players when it comes time for the Gold Cup this summer in the United States. And just a quick little recap of those scores that we showed you earlier, but one that we didn't get to see, which happened earlier today, was New York Red Bulls 2 and Nashville. I mean, you and I talked about teams that, we can pick apart and maybe critique a bit more that have been around the league. And Nashville's one of them, because with all the pieces that they got and the start that they've had,
no excuses. None whatsoever.
Play like a champion.
You do have to wonder what's going on there with Gary Smith's squad, because they primarily played in a 3-back last year, and like with the wingbacks on the outside, and kind of similar to what we see out of Pittsburgh and Bob Lilly. There has to be a reason that in the 76th minute, Cameron Lancaster coming off the bench and Matt LaGrossa is starting up top next to Daniel Rios. I don't understand that. That makes no sense to me whatsoever. You spend that money on, you've got Belmar, Meloto, Rios, and Lancaster.
On the road, tough surface. I'm playing devil's advocate. I'm trying to find a reason.
Tough surface. Tell that to Lancaster, who netted a hat trick last year, including that wonder goal from midfield.
Fair enough. Devin Kerr. You heard it from him. You won't hear it from anybody else. 0-0 between Bethlehem and Memphis. We'll come back with stats and highlights from the first half, and let's hope for a bit more action in the second. Hope you enjoyed a beverage or a snack during halftime. Devin Kerr just finishing up the last of his chicken sandwich. You right over there?
Thank you to our glorious producer for that one. That's going to get me revved up for the second half.
She does it all. I mean, she's dropping graphics. She's bringing in sandwiches. She's incredible, Sharni Yerke. Let's take a look at what happened in the first half. And spoiler alert, there were no goals, but a couple of decent opportunities for both teams, Devin. And I think, obviously with an expansion side and Bethlehem with so many rotating pieces, you could probably expect a bit of, discombobulation, if you will, amongst both sides.
quiet, yes. Snooze fest, no. I'm really shocked at the talent level that we have on this pitch that we haven't seen more, especially out of the likes of Dwayne Muckett and Rashawn Dolly, but that's okay. Another 45 minutes. A couple solid chances from Zach Zandy and Shivani Willis. This is the one from Zandy going from his left back over to his right. And that right post seemed to be the savior for Jeff Caldwell, didn't it? Didn't really like the inconsistent refereeing. That was the one on Anthony Fontana after the Shivani Willis challenge. To be fair, he was probably the one who got in trouble first, and then just tucking himself back in, Anthony Fontana would receive a yellow card, 28th minute. Always nice to introduce yourself, maybe not necessarily with an elbow, though.
So Fontana showed some mustard, and then Birchwood loft to win it. This is awkward from Freeze, and I'm sure Brendan Burke had something to say about this because he wasn't sure whether to come, whether to go, and if this goes back across the face of goal, Freeze is in for a world of hurt.
That's game over. You're in la-la land as a goalkeeper. You definitely do not want to do that. You come for the ball, you make sure you win it. That's a no-go. This is the chance by Willis. Again, this goes off the post. Goalkeeper does not get a hand to it. He's beat for sure, but the woodwork had something else to say about it. Dips right in front of the goalkeeper. So difficult to handle.
Well, second half almost getting underway here in Chester, Pennsylvania. And we're officially underway in the second half. Tyler Terrens, along with the former German pro Devin Kerr. Talon Energy Stadium is the location. 0-0 is the score. The league, USL Championship. What's on the line? 3 points for the team that wins. 1 point if they are to draw. And if you lose, you come away with no points. Devin, did I get that right?
Just about. We'll work on the rest later, but good job. You're learning. And to think, I thought it was just going to be another Sunday.
You know better by now. Here's Olivia Bizo. I'd love to see him get going. Hasn't been a ton of space for the outside backs to get forward. Memphis has done a good job sitting in that block. Road team, defensive prowess has been good.
And it's funny because we talked about the change in system and how high the outside backs get, but you're right, they really haven't had anywhere to go, have they? It has given the opportunity for Fontana, Zandy, Willis, and Chambers to interchange a bit more. But still, even there, it's a good job by Muhammad and Sharpie. And that all comes down to the communication from the center backs of Pratzner and Birch as well, and their ability to help everybody shift. They see it best outside of Jeff Caldwell, who sits behind them. Wouldn't be surprised here in the second half to see Ferris come off. Remember, he's still nursing a bit of a hamstring injury, caught it in preseason, and this being his debut tonight, hasn't even made a substitution appearance. Brendan Burke telling us that he would probably bring him off, maybe get about 60, 70 minutes or so. Just a few moments here in the second half for the big man up top to make an impact.
Memphis with a deep throw-in. Goes in for Morgan Hackworth. Gonna take it away, Chambers. Fontana, a lot of work to do. Couldn't quite get it away, and the second opportunity there was scuffed by Leston Paul. Haven't seen a ton out of Mr. Paul so far. He's more so been trying to connect the dots for Memphis than anything. 29-year-old from Mayaro, Trinidad and Tobago. Was with one of the best teams in the Trinidad and Tobago Pro League Central in 2018. Also played with them from 2014 to 2017, a loan stint with Pasakina. Played some college ball, University of South Florida.
The two countries that are pretty well represented in the USL are from the international level. See so many, but Trinidad and Tobago and the Jamaicans, they seem to have a heavy influence. Yeah, heavy influence on the league. And that's a good thing to see, but also very difficult for these clubs when it does come international duty time, because it is truly an honor to go and represent your country at the highest level. Hard to say no.
Decent idea through. Michi Galina is going to continue his pursuit. Michi Galina on the turn. Just dinking one over the top. Encouraging ball. Bethlehem threatening. Ferris on the turn. Chambers goes to ground. Great hustle play. It stays with Bethlehem. Olivier Bizo. Nice little feint. Bizo still with it. Chambers try to knock it back out wide and picked off by Memphis. And look at Grandison on the move. Getting the better of Mark McKenzie. Grandison still with it. And finally has it taken away.
Chatting with Brendan Burke this week, I brought up Ferris. Last year he told us how raw of a talent he was. We've alluded to it so far during this broadcast, and just said to him, you know, you said that he had grown a little bit in the offseason and he's getting better on a scale 1 to 10. What did he come in at? I said probably like a 2.
Nice little ball through. Galina might be able to get there. And it was a sliding challenge right at the last from Todd Pratzner. Might not show up in the score sheet after the game, but that's very much a goal-saving challenge from Pratzner.
Well done to track back in by the center back. This was an area that I thought Bethlehem Steel might go after a bit. With all due respect to Todd Pratzner, Mark Birch, a lot more experience, but a good job by him recognizing the threat. Birch hadn't slid over, a little bit of space in between the back line. That's a good job going to ground. And just going back to the two up top, Galina and Ferris, and he said Ferris probably came in at a 3 or 4 from a tactical standpoint, and that he needed to understand the awareness with his teammates. That was a good representation of what he was, but that he needed to be much better and more comfortable in and around the top of the box. Ball's out in front of him, overlapping run for Galina. Easy for him to just lay that off and let Galina have a shot off, and instead, the 2, 3, 4 extra touches allows the back line of Memphis 901 FC to get back and close down the threat.
Big sweeping ball to the near side. Gets in play by Muhammad. Muckett. Couldn't get past Bizo. Here's Muckett again. Paul. Driving towards the byline. And it comes off of Bizo. And a corner kick coming for Memphis 901 FC. And that is the first corner of the game.
Better decision making here in the second half so far from 901 FC. A bit more technical on the ball and not a lot of 1v1 situations. You can see the relationship starting to build and grow throughout this match for the Road Warriors. They're still trying to find a way to make an impact on this match.
Mark Birch on the corner. It'll be an outswinger from the lefty. Challenge put in by Paul, and it was not a clean one.
James Chambers. This happens
He's
just
the
outside
best.
the 6. And this ball's 30 yards out, and the Irishman tries to get away with one. That was funny. Can't fault him for trying, can you?
No. James had a great tweet earlier this week. He had referenced his former teammate Santi Moar, who's now with New Mexico United. And Santi Moar's terrific run of form. He said, long may the good run of form live. And Santi continues that last night with his 4th goal in as many games. It was a great headed effort. He scored with his right, he scored with his left, he scored with his head. And New Mexico, who are up 2-0, end up drawing Orange County, giving up 2 goals in the second half. Meanwhile, Bethlehem with a nice little secondary counter here. And the curling effort, never troubling Caldwell in the end. Good look from Zach Zandy, who's starting to find some small pockets in between the midfield and the defense of Memphis.
5 in, 23 out.
We're being told that Tristan Hodge is getting set to come on for Memphis. And if I heard correctly, Devin, going to replace Weston Paul.
I mean, you're spot on there, and what'll probably happen is Dwayne Muckett will tuck himself into that number 10 position. And either Hodge or Mohammed will move a bit higher line than we've seen on that back line before.
Good work from Freeze. Walter Cortez, the Costa Rican, in his first professional game.
That's a fun shout. I have no problem admitting I'm wrong. It'll be fun to see Morgan Hackworth then. That's Tim Mulqueen telling Morgan Hackworth to step inside, play a little bit of the playmaking role. Haven't seen that out of him with 901 FC. Seen it in the past at both Syracuse and Akron, more recently with the Zips. At the end of his collegiate career, fun to watch him. I'm sure his father's more than proud.
And Weston Paul, a big hug from manager Tim Mulqueen as Tristan Hodge, 24 years old, from Trinidad and Tobago. 5 caps with the Warriors, and actually was in the starting 11 against Wales on February 2nd. Decent idea from Zandy. Up steps Birch. Still all 3 substitutes at the disposal of Brendan Burke. And a chance here for Memphis, and it's in! Just like that, Rashawn Dolly. And Memphis 901 FC take the lead here in Talent Energy in the 58th minute. It's a lightning strike after what was a pretty poor mistake from Benofimu.
Just like that. Dolly immediately puts his stamp on this game. Benofimo, what are you doing? Just terrible decision to go back to Matt Freese here. And you have to wonder what the call was. Couldn't catch it immediately. Femu just does not put enough pace on the ball. Dolly says thank you very much, and that's easy pickings for the Bloomfield, Connecticut native. Just so simple for him to tuck that one to bed.
And now the foul going against Memphis, as I'm sure that's a bit of a wake-up call for Bethlehem. As Rashawn Dolly just a few moments ago getting the second goal in club history for Memphis 901.
It should be a fun one for James Chambers, and I think they're going to give an opportunity to Cortez to get involved.
Whipped in, Caldwell. It's a piece of it.
I don't mind the look there from Chambers and Cortez. A lot of times you'll just see Chambo just step up and put one in, let the guys go get it, but they don't really have a lot of size in their back line or in the squad together in general at all. Ofemu in the back, and possibly Shivani Willis, but otherwise just kind of lacking vertically.
Long run the other way for Morgan Hackworth, dealing with Mark McKenzie. Memphis starting to ooze with confidence a bit after the goal, but commentators curse in full effect as they give it away, but Bethlehem do them one better.
It's a bit aggressive, isn't it? Play a crossbar in the 61st minute. He catch the goalkeeper sleeping well off his line. Thought maybe he could chip Matt Freeze.
Been very impressed with Zach Zandy and his ability to hang out to the ball, be creative in the attacking third. Here he is again. Walter Cortez sort of has his palms up, looking for some sort of option.
I'm always very careful to make analogies on the global stage of what we think a player looks like. I'm not comparing him, saying his talent level is at that level, but he reminds me a lot of Ribéry from France and his ability. Hear me out. Left foot, right foot, inside, outside. Both Bayern Munich and the national team have used him in multiple positions over the years, and Zandy kind of does the same thing, and especially with the system they have in place. Just gives you that opportunity to tuck inside and challenge the middle of the field because you know the runs are coming from an overlapping standpoint, and on the same token, you can just stand firm on that far touchline, wait for the action to come to you, and then go at your own pace.
We got Michi Galina on the move. He gets knocked off the ball by Grandison. Nothing in it from Luis Arroyo, and Memphis will now try to set up shop in Bethlehem territory.
Steel first substitution. Now leading the match.
And it's going to be Bowie coming on and replacing Farris here in the 63rd. And we talked about Bowie a little bit earlier in the broadcast, Evan, and how he could potentially be sort of the next Brendan Aronson in this club. And coming onto the scene here in the 64th minute. His second appearance for Bethlehem. Taken away by Birch right before Bethlehem could have a chance.
And Patrick Bowie coming in, he made his debut last week, and he's the youngest player ever to appear for the Bethlehem Steel. The ripe old age of 15 years, 3 months, and 13 days. And just, there's another representation of what this club is dealing with. You're bringing in 15-year-olds making their professional debut with this organization. Yeah, Ivorian and his talent pool definitely not lacking, and Brendan Burke is going to have some fun toys to play with in a couple years.
Yeah, miscommunication between Muckett and his comrades moving forward. Now 25 minutes remaining in this one. Rashawn Dolly with the lone tally. Tyler Terrens alongside Devin Kerr. Final match of week number 3 in the USL Championship. And right now, Memphis hanging on for dear life at Talent Energy for their first ever franchise win.
The way this is going, though, you can kind of see the opportunity starting to grow a bit for Bethlehem Steel. And who's it going to be to step up? Memphis 901, the recipients of a very poor decision by Ofemu on the back line. Otherwise, they really haven't done a boatload. Better than the first 45 for sure, but 901 FC still trying to find a way. Tactically, Mulqueen moving some pieces around. Morgan Hackworth has stepped into the middle of the field to represent the playmaking position at 10. Zach Zandy seems to be the one who comes to mind on a regular basis so far, who's shown what he can do. And their possession level is rising. Their touches on the ball are getting better. Extremely accurate as well. Just nothing to show for it so far for the Steel.
Galena. Fans, follow the Bethlehem Steel and the rest of the USL Championship all season long on ESPN Plus, home to the USL, MLS, UFC, and more. Join the over 2 million sports fans who have already discovered ESPN Plus and watch the championship live every week. Sign up today at espnplus.com.
Some pressure right. And Patrick Bowie using those fresh legs to run around and lay some chase to the back of the line a little bit. It'll definitely make the boys in the middle question a bit more. Mark Birch and Todd Pratzner have gotten very comfortable as, again, Ferris limited in minutes, and they don't want to overstretch that hamstring.
Here comes Memphis. Wes Sharpie now. Patient from Memphis, 69th minute, up 1-0 on the road.
It's a good shout from their manager. Keep it moving. Doesn't like how stagnant they've been with it. Have to be quicker in their decision making. Too many touches that are unnecessary, allowing the Steel to remain composed on the defensive side of things. They start to pick up the pace a little bit, really make the youngsters start to guess where the progression's going to come from.
Yeah, Memphis will take their sweet time. And Luis Arroyo says, enough of the musical chairs, let's get on with it. Here comes the long throw in. Dolly was trying to bring it down.
It's a bit unusual, 21 minutes left in a game to see them start dragging their feet, huh? Well, I guess anything you can do while you're on the road for a point.
I'd do it. And I know you would too.
Oh, yeah. That ball would be out of the stadium, and every ball boy would be chasing it, leaving the bag from behind. There's no way anyone was telling me when I was putting that back into play.
Here's Walter Cortez. Some shifty moves from the Costa Rican. Now it's Zandy. Good switch. Bizo brings it down. Giveaway from Bethlehem. Here comes Muckett. Morgan Hackworth running with them. Here's Rashawn Dolly. Already got one tonight. Falls for Metzger.
Excellent direction being given out by the manager, Tim Mulqueen. You can hear him talking to Morgan Hackworth. Dan Metzger saying, sort out James Chambers in the middle. He's been the one who's trying to find a way to get this Steel offense going in the second half. Both teams struggling.
And it's going to be Issa Rayan coming on. And he will replace Shivani Willis.
Was wondering when Burke was going to go to his bench, and not surprised to see this move. And if you're a Steel FC fan wondering why Rayan is coming to play in the middle of the field, not unexpected from their manager Brendan Burke whatsoever. Last year saw him a lot outside on the right and then playing up top, and then his freshman year he played under the tutelage of John Kerr, had a great freshman season, elected to go pro. There's Birmingham Legion. He played right back last week, playing right forward. He got an opportunity to run around with Bowie, and now this time around he's going to push in the middle fit. He said, look, he's just too versatile of a player, so talented, and the way that my roster is right now with guys being hurt, guys being rotated in and out of training with the Union, I've got to utilize the players to the best of my abilities, and Issa gives me that opportunity to do it.
And listen to this stat. The last 3 ACC Rookies of the Year have not finished up their college career and have left early to go pro.
Issa, who are the other two?
Manny Perez and Jack Harrison.
Manny Perez is at North Carolina FC.
Celtic.
He's
on loan.
Easy.
I'm just saying.
What else you got?
And Jack Harrison, who's at Leeds United.
Really?
Yep.
Interesting. Last 3 in a row.
Last 3.
Which is funny because the ACC is a hotbed. They produce some serious talent.
Why is that funny, though? If they're producing serious talent.
You leave after 1 year.
Why 2.
Do you go to
it's not only 1 year. It varies from.
Oh, well, I thought you said freshman of the year.
They leave early at some point. They don't finish up their college career.
Never mind.
You got to listen.
No, I heard.
Work from Fontana. Bizo able to win something for Bethlehem, and is a corner. Got to mention Cam Lindley, who's with Orlando City and University of North Carolina. Bethlehem will go short. Cortez was going for goal. Fortuitous bounce for Bethlehem. Galena, and that's a great hold from Jeff Caldwell. Tim Mulqueen's got to love that.
Don't mind it at all, but if you're Anthony Fontana, you need to shout for this a bit louder, because when Galena brings this across his body, he actually cuts down his own angle. If he lets Fontana progress and bring this on his left foot, right there, allows the space to open up in front of him, he gives himself a better angle to have a shot at Caldwell, but either way, that's great goalkeeping.
Well, between Tim Mulqueen and Tim Howard being an owner, there was always going to be a good keeper in between the sticks.
Right? Had to, and that was a fun conversation with Mulqueen. I said, look, how'd you get the job opportunity? You know, so many times we saw him with U17s, U19s, with the World Cup teams for Olympics as well, and you know, playing the likes of goalkeeper coach, of course, doing good things for himself in his playing career, and great relationship with Tim Howard. He said, listen, my opportunity came through Tim. Told me that he had gotten involved from an ownership standpoint and really felt like what was going on here was a great thing, and it was more so in passing as friends as they talked, and just the environment that was being created, and then one after another, and eventually Andrew Bell, Craig Unger, their owners, got involved, and they just convinced me that this was the place to be. Gave me an opportunity to explore from a coaching standpoint what kind of personnel I wanted to bring in. We talked about Ben Perman earlier. So many other guys that, from management standpoint, front office, allowed them to put together this team and do it in not exactly the longest time frame either. They only had a few months to get things going. He was still working at Orlando City as an assistant last summer.
Good cover from Bowie. Good work from Metzger to get it out wide. Chance here for Memphis as that one was sent across, but picked off by Mark McKenzie. Rayon. I like how positive Tim Mulqueen is on the sideline. Very animated.
He's giving great directions as well. You hear him talking about the steel going in transition. He says, look, in front of us is fine. What does it matter if it goes side to side? It's not threatening whatsoever. Just get goal side of the ball. Let them go back and forth. We'll give that all day.
What's the buzzword, Devin?
Purposeful.
There it is.
Stay with me.
Purposeful possession.
Exactly. But he's smart. You know, and there's a good look at he and Ben.
I feel like you're going to name your first child Purposeful.
No.
Tyler?
No. Definitely not.
Sadio?
No.
Come on. Dolly holds it up. Muckett. Tristan Hodge. Good work from Dan Metzger. Last touch coming off of Memphis 901.
How about the touch from the target man up top? Dolly brings it
bad.
Right off that corner of his chest, just uses his shoulder a bit. Drop it right in front of boys in the midfield coming up to help out. Very difficult to do.
That's a really rough challenge on Michi Galena. Devin Kerr is making the signal for a card. Let's see if Luis Arroyo agrees with him. That was worse than the Fontana challenge, I'll tell you that much.
Worse than the Fontana challenge, with an attacking threat and to the head.
And that all equals a yellow card for Grandison. Great first touch from Galena. Fontana, stripped by Metzger. Bowie, a little bit of a stumble. Metzger almost able to get there. Chambers able to recover in time. The first time from Bizo. That's a great ball, and Bowie decided to take it on the first time.
63 is going in.
Would have been a decent goal.
That's very difficult to judge as well, because as an attacker, when this ball is being floated in, you have to imagine that you're going to have to hit it first time, because if the defender misses, you're very rarely going to have the amount of time you need to bring it down, collect your thoughts, and then have a go. Unfortunately for him, it's exactly what happened. He could have brought it down, but still don't mind the effort. Ball in was delicious.
Here's Walter Cortez on the move. 80th minute. Bethlehem looking for their equalizer. Cortez, almost able to get there, and that's a great recovery from Wes Sharpie. And that effort easily handled by Caldwell.
That quite easily could have ended up on SportsCenter, not top 10, as you just got megged really poorly. Great recovery by the outside back to use his body and get in front of the attacker. Quality by Wes Sharpie to step in and help him out with a cramp, and good opportunity for some of the guys to get some hydration going. Just a few minutes left in this match, and some nice sportsmanship between the two guys.
That's what it's all about, huh? You get.
Keep telling yourself that.
I mean, listen.
No, it's very nice. It's good to see. To be fair, the relationship between the two squads has not been poor on the field.
No.
They've gotten along quite well, just trying to go about their business.
If it's Bethlehem Pittsburgh, then it might be a different story. Metzger brings down the second. Good idea from Sharpie. And McKenzie can just see it out. Who's up, who's down, where does your club sit? Find out every Monday in the official USL Championship Power Rankings, only on USLChampionship.com. Who's number one for you right now, Dev?
I knew that was coming. I wasn't ready for it.
Tell me how that one works out.
Ugh. Number one for me, huh? You're not going to like it, but there's a reason for it. I haven't seen everybody yet either. I'm going to go with St. Louis.
Why wouldn't you think I don't like that? Well, that's fair.
I don't think it's a fair enough answer for me, with all due respect to the other squads, because I haven't seen everyone. I've seen about 20 teams. Carry the one.
20.
Yeah.
More than 30.
Yeah, we'll get there. So I've seen just over half in their entirety. I mean, I've seen highlights, obviously, but I'm not impressed with Martin Rennie and Indy 11 so far. I think they're going to get better, but not impressed with them. Defensively, Phoenix Rising struggling heavily. New Mexico United
had hung on, they probably would have been number one.
Yeah, 6 times they've been in the lead, 6 times they've surrendered it. 3 games out of 4. They should have 100% won. They should be 4-0. No doubt about that. But St. Louis FC, the defensive unit we saw last year, and now he's gone out and gotten some more tricks of the trade in the final third. They've done well to hold their composition. They've closed games out. That composition we saw last year has carried over, and they look very composed in the early goings of this season. That's not to say it's not going to change in the next 5 matches, but they're unbeaten for a reason. The Rowdies are unbeaten, and they are night and day compared to St. Louis FC. Now, the two of them just tied, but it took a Sam Fink mishap with a ball extending outside of the box, coming off a handball, for Guenzati to get the game-tying PK.
Contrary to popular belief, I may have to agree with you on that St. Louis.
Thank goodness this isn't being recorded.
Yeah. I think our producer might have a heart attack. There's Rayon looking dangerous here, gets it all the way across, and a good challenge coming in from Todd Pratzner. Him and Wes Sharpie actually ended up colliding, but Pratzner again, another good defensive play to make sure that Bethlehem doesn't find that equalizer as we're knocking on the door of the 85th minute. And now Schneider Borgelin, the 17-year-old from Margate, Florida, is going to come onto the scene. And he's going to replace Zach Zandy. Borgelin, who's featured for the Haiti U20s, as well as from the Inter-USA Academy. And he's part of sort of this big wave for Brendan Burke of a lot of different players that are coming into the academy that are not from the Philadelphia or the tri-state area, and specifically from Florida. The ensuing corner doesn't get past the first defender.
Tim Mulqueen.
He's amazing.
He's initially asking for one, and now he doesn't want to do it. It's Junior Sandoval trying to make his way on.
He's not wrong though. They called for the sub.
The worst thing that happens here is Sandoval walks away from the field and he grabs a card for refusing to come on. It's not the end of the world. I'd do it. My manager tells me to sit down. My manager says, sit down. I don't want you going on yet. I'll tell you what, I know where my paycheck's being signed, and it's not from that referee sitting in the middle of the field.
And now the substitution is going to take place, and I'll tell you what, if Bethlehem scores on this, there's going to be an uprising. And it's Dolly, the goal scorer and the game-winning hero for Memphis right now, who's coming off. Chambers' free kick, not a great one, back out. Anthony Fontana couldn't quite get there, and Memphis cleared their lines.
That was one of the bizarrest interchanges we've seen in a while here.
In the 3 years we've been covering the USL Championship, I haven't seen anything like that. Bethlehem starting to threaten. I mean, my question is, why was that so difficult? Bowie felt like he was taken down, as does the crowd here, but not going to get any sympathy from the head referee, Luis Arroyo. You can hear Brendan Burke. He's not happy. He's thinking that it should at least be a corner, if not a foul. He's never getting the penalty call there, but
that's definitely far-fetched. Michigolino once again, just sticking right on that shoulder. It does come over the back. The two of them get caught up with each other.
Looks like it came off Sharpie, no?
It's definitely not a penalty.
It looked like it blatantly came off Sharpie.
Yeah. Luis Arroyo has his hands full here at the close of this match. Not making any friends on his way out either.
Chambers took a shot to the head. It's clever from Muckett. Sandoval keeps it in play, or did he? This one is becoming more intriguing by the moment. Ofimo. Bizo trying to get to the outside. Draws a lot of attention, Olivier Bizo. Lofted in by McKenzie. Birch up for the header. Almost into the 90th minute. And Bowie commits the foul. Bit of frustration there from the youngster. A lot of organizing now for Memphis. Bethlehem scrambling to try to level the score in the final moments. We're being told we're going to have 4 minutes of stoppage time as Morgan Hackworth thought about dragging it to the corner. Sandoval back for Sharpie. And Memphis able to win themselves a corner. This is good game management for Memphis 901.
Hey, it's nice to be able to pick up the calls from Mulqueen and his staff as well. With Ben Pierman managing this game very well down the stretch. They're asking Abdi and Sandoval to step over there into the corner and just play a game of keep away. As soon as the threat comes a bit further, just knock it off them and try and get another one out of it.
That one did travel over the byline. Goal kick now for Freeze.
This is just going to come down to who wants it most. If you're Bethlehem, you're not going to be given the space to play. It's got to be very direct, and someone's going to have to win an individual battle and then do something brilliant to get in behind 901 FC as they have packed it in for the remaining 3 minutes here.
Heavy touch from Fontana. And look at Dan Metzger showing off the pace even in the 91st. And Metzger, the veteran, just toying with Bethlehem. Fontana forced to commit the foul. And Devin Kerr, a little golf clap in the booth.
It's brilliant. It's everything you could want out of the desire from a player in this game. Just good job, soccer IQ, reading the progression of the play, steps up, wins the tackle, touches it around him. And it'd be very simple for him to just try and kill this off in the corner. That's not the case, though. Anthony Fontana had tracked all the way back from left midfield since he shifted over there. And then it just becomes a 1v1, brings it back, wins the foul, wasting time, making Bethlehem chase a bit further.
Bethlehem got to go. Delivery was poor. More than halfway through the added time as Fontana loops one in. One initially by Bethlehem. Birch's clearance, not nearly good enough. Still work to do. And we're being told that Jacob Hauser-Ramsey is going to be the final substitute for Memphis 901 FC. And here comes Hauser-Ramsey. Seattle, Washington native. UConn Husky product, as well as Tyler Junior Community College. And coming out to the scene here, gets about a 60-second run. And the Fire loanee replacing Muckett, who did a lot of good things throughout the course of his 93 minutes of work, and much love from Tim Mulqueen. I have to imagine we'll have about extra 30 seconds with that substitution. Metzger sends it away. Sandoval giving chase. Freeze off of his line. Comes McKenzie. Izo has to go negative to retrieve it. Fimu lofts it in. Caldwell off this line. Collision, no call. Blocked off the line, still in front. And it's over the bar in a corner now for Bethlehem. Wild that there wasn't a whistle on that play. Fontana scrambling to go take the corner. They'll go short. It's with Galena. Final moments now. Fontana gets it in. Caldwell lines it up. And Memphis 901 FC have their first win in franchise history. Rashawn Dolly's goal in the 58th minute stands alone. And Tim Mulqueen gets this Memphis club off and running on the road at Talon Energy Stadium against a very polished Brandenburg Bethlehem Steel side, albeit an extremely young one. And a night to remember in Chester, Pennsylvania for Memphis. Rashawn Dolly, the game winner. Bethlehem stymied at home and still looking for their first win at home. Memphis all smiles at the conclusion of 90 minutes. We'll put a bow on it when we come back. Full time here on the Delaware River, and it's the Bethlehem Steel Football Club who come up short, and it's Memphis 901 FC with the club's first ever win on the road. Tyler Terrence along with Devin Kerr, thank you so much for tuning in. And really, this was just a gutsy performance from Tim Mulqueen's bunch. And Devin, it was not an entertaining game. There was not a ton of quality in it, but at the end of the day, Memphis got their first ever win, and they did it in a way that sometimes, and especially in the Eastern Conference, that you're going to see a lot of these games where you just sort of have to grind it out and just find a way to get a result.
Sit back, stay compact, deal with wave after wave of attack, especially from a young, talented, and aggressive Bethlehem Steel squad. And we saw a couple opportunities from some of the midfielders trying to get involved. Anthony Fontana, Zach Zandy, Shivani Willis, all of them having some goes from distance. Look, they carried 61% possession, 66 in the second half, which is crazy. Accuracy well over 80%, almost 600 passes for the home squad. Tim Mulqueen's not going to care because at the end of the day, it was one mistake by a youngster. Ben Ofemu at the back line just gifted it to the forward right up top and just could not figure out what he was going to do. Rashawn Dolly did a good job stepping in behind the back line. Not a lot of opportunities for the visiting squad. You take a look at the metrics in this game. 3 total shots, 3 on target. But the only one that mattered was the goal. You know what I mean? They got 3 points. They're happy with it. And there it is right there. Second goal in history. Elliot Collier got the first one. Ofemu does not put enough energy on it. He needs to be better. And there's 2 things here. That's his fault for not heading it hard enough. And it's also, it could be the wrong communication call. Someone could have called that for it and not recognizing because their view is obstructed. Either way, he needs to peek before he goes and heads that back.
Why do we see that so often at all levels?
Yeah, yeah.
It's such an issue.
Yeah.
Did you ever do that?
Yeah, of course I did. Of course I did.
I think that's the first time you've ever admitted to doing something wrong in a soccer game in your professional career.
Oh, yeah. It's happened before.
What's today's date? I need to mark it down.
There you go.
March 24th.
Bethlehem still need to be happy with what they did because, to be honest, they were the better squad. They created more opportunities, carried more possession. They looked the more dangerous one. But like you said, at the end of the day, 3 points is all that matters. What's the score? Goals win games. Tim Mulqueen and his boys found a way to stay compact at the appropriate times and then seize the single opportunity that presented itself. Got the goal, got their first victory. They should be happy.
Well, they may not have carved out their identity just yet, but if this is any indication of what's to come from Memphis 901 FC, they're going to be an extremely tough out, hard-nosed defensively and opportunistic in the offensive third. Bethlehem Steel FC still looking for their first 3 points at home, and they'll continue to search for it. For our entire crew, my broadcast partner Devin Kerr, Tyler Terrence saying so long for now. The final score from Chester, Memphis 1, Bethlehem 0. We'll talk to you soon.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League Championship cannot be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the expressed written consent of the United Soccer League Championship.